Oh, when you magnetize his light, how marvelous will be the results. For forthcoming from the domain of the heart, the shafts of light will encircle both head and heart, revealing at last the bedrock of consciousness that rises into those points of light that in the air are the encircling domain of the angelic hosts. O mankind, how long will you disregard the strands of reality that bring to the soul the fashion of those divine times that were of old, when the sacred and wonderful manifestation of divine truth revealed the mission of each life? Have you thought, beloved mankind, of the power of that mission, and of how that mission can be restored to you, until at last you will understand why, when in past times you have often not understood? Darkness must be overcome by light, and the burning of darkness will reveal at last the wonders of his love. His love is a love of divine grace, a love of understanding the family of God upon this earth and in heaven. How frequently mankind through the years and centuries have builded walls of rock, stony walls, around their hearts' chalices, until no more were they able to support that magnificent and holy release of the ladder of light into their consciousness. When the ladder of light is revealed, when mankind come to understand its meaning, they perceive in themselves the way. Jesus said long ago, I am the way, the truth, and the life. How few have understood this. How few have understood themselves as the way. For they have been so busy involving themselves in those skeins of the spider's web that trap them in that worldly design that refuses to let them go. And thus darkness appears to cover the earth, whereas light from within breaks forth as a lantern in the air. And when the lantern of reality is perceived, man sees God everywhere. Behold, the burning and the smoking lamp which appeared to Abram of old. Behold, the burning and smoking lamp which passed before his gaze. Obscurity appeared, and the flame. Out of the flame appeared the scenes of divine intervention, of divine intention, of the universal perfection of God. Things that had never been imagined by mankind. Gifts and graces complete in their own right stood forth upon the screen of the mind, and mankind began at last to understand that he was called beloved. Human beings did not understand when they were called to task why it was so, and the necessity of the moment. Darkness seemed to cloud the mind with ease, and the virtue of a reasonable intelligence to fly the coop. How vain mankind are! Proud as peacocks, they strut and besmirch the world with the tracks of darkness as turkey tracks or chicken tracks upon the snow. The purity of God is not seen, and instead the manifestations are without meaning, the scratchings of infidels, and those who have cultivated darkness as though darkness could live. We have said darkness cannot live, for darkness is not of God. God is light, and the light from the heavenly lanterns fills the air with a filmy blue vapor of the will of God. Men inhaling this vapor create those distillations of consciousness by which universal effort is procured. Once it is procured and released, individuals find then that their momentums of darkness and vanity cease, and instead of vanity manifesting in the world, grace appears. It is like a holy golden lyre. This beautiful musical instrument, which is used to attune the soul to those musical tones and sweet fragrances of the flowers of God, by the hand of angelic faces reveals at last the splendor of the way man should go. For he is intended to be a chalice of receptivity, one who is able to perceive in himself those virtuous strands of holy reality that have not been besmirched by darkness. For then the sullying of mankind of the holy wings of the pure white dove are no more, and men perceive at last that their confidences have not been betrayed by God, nor have they been cast aside without the succor of an ark of God. They then have been blessed beyond the recognition of their own soul's knowing. They have been blessed beyond their comprehensions. They have began to externalize in the world of form those holy radiances that will adorn the sweetness of a cosmic morn. For now, when Gabriel blows his horn, the men of earth arise to see the damsel of God purity, arrayed in white and shining then. She sheds her light upon all men, the lantern of the Holy One, the spirit of the central sun, reveals itself as fragrance bold, 'twill bring to earth the holy gold of heaven's own beloved stronghold, to reveal the passions of the free, the kindling of eternity within mankind's unfortunate and native darkness, which he knew not at all in former times, but sought the light as though it were that precious touch of Savior's hand to heal the blindness and demand of worldly sensation, the welter of mankind's feelings and their failures are now diminished by the light of those magnificent holy trailings of cosmic radiance. All frailings are released into the light of strength, for God will not cease, when there is hope, to extend, to evoke the passions and the light of 10,000 suns descending, conflagration of his might, ne'er ending, but forever revealing sunderings of cosmic thunders, revealing darkness, erasing blunders, purifying and revealing wholeness made complete in garments white, and so sweet to fill the soul with all God's love, the freedom from above. What is this freedom of which I speak? Is it a ceasing of mankind's heart's direction, or is it the caress of infinity upon the cheek of time? Awareness and reality deserve the attention of all, and when we call, it is not to evoke blindness, but love. And when the passions of God's love reveal that beauteous lantern in the air, 'twill call all men from worldly care unto the crossing of the bar of destiny fair. O God, reveal thyself, and seal thy children holy in the wholeness of thy name, that they may no longer stoop to human blame and all that is the sundering of reality's tie to God's pleasure. O holy will, how beauteous are thy never-ceasing passions of caress upon the soul. O winged hope that reveals the goal no more to drop unto the earth as faithless energy or curse, mankind at last saying unto his God, I hear thee, I hear thy love, I am thy love, I am thy reality, I feel thy caress, thy gentleness, thy sweetness, thy ever-pressing nearness, and I say, oh, repudiate, repudiate, repudiate those former times when men have lived in and cursed the darkness by their weariness in well-doing. O beautiful light, shewing forth that pencil beam of divine radiance through the night of man's failure dream, revealing then a pathway to the stars beyond, and all the compassion of that bond of freedom. Now I know, each soul may say, and see the glow that points the way to everyone who will understand that he is that way, revealing God's command and power to take dominion o'er the earth, erase the curse, heal the blind, kindle the flame within the mind. O beauteous fire, expanding world, creating greater God desire, unfurling banners of hope over the heart of the world, and erasing all of her sorrows, tears, until at last that revered year of perfection that comes to all when he is ready to answer call will say unto his soul, I am thy goal, revealed and known. Captivity ended, no more mankind blinded by his destructivity ties feels the power from the skies that penetrates the conscious mind and saith unto soul, be no more blind, but find thy goal. Thy cosmic passions are those passions of the Lord, kindling then when needed even a human divine sword of God's will to remove the spill and spatter of the mud that's pinged upon God's design and caused it to be in appearance not at all the radiance that it is, but now we say 'tis his when it is no part of him, but only of the broken limb of incorrectness moved from the way. The caress of God, it must of course point the way, and cannot be that fractioned identity which men have thought to be the right way and have not seen as wrong indeed, because it did not kindle in their heart God's speed, but slowly evoked upon the world that ink blot of human darkness that obscured the light and kept mankind afraid and hiding, scurrying like rats over the heart of the world until the God design seemed blinded and lost. The lost word, now then sought by men, will bring them all once again into that palm of universal hope, the hand of God, that they may one and all evoke and know that life is guided by his beam, and nevermore will be that error men have seemed to think was God, when after all his rod was clearly pointing the way to the shepherd kingdom of illumination and beauty, design most holy and not unruly, not lowly, but raise it into beautiful wings of light flashing through the night and bringing to the soul the full and beauteous goal of hope revealed that men have ever seen, as God sealed within his heart their passions from the start, hoping to cover the naked part of man's own error, steeped in demonology, witchcraft, variance, sundry and divers realms of darkness, draping consciousness, flooding the mind with putrid thoughts and sewers of thought, while God, far above, revealed what he had wrought and said, "'Tis love, and love alone will seal the soul. And ye who grovel in the dust shall reap the curse of dust until at last, rising free, you shall beam eternity's beeness and be all that God is." O sacred fire, fan the flame and watch what happens to the souls who in thy name receive that purging, to be no more a child of darkness, to be no more a child of iniquity, to be no more a son of ignorance, but now to stand before the living Son of Christic knowledge and be one with that knowledge, with that truth, with that grace, with that proof that is within yourself. You say, "I am not," and I say to all, "I am," for I am Morya, servant of the will of God, devotee of the Spirit of truth from days of elder art. I say to you then, the divine family stands forth in its beauteous wonder, and ye are all a part of it who will make yourselves so. But if you insist in remaining in the darkness and erasing your hopes by that darkness, of failing to magnetize the light, then I say to you, you will walk in the subterranean chambers of the earth, and the sacred fires for you shall not blaze, and the darkness shall not disgorge you, and the contents of your soul will not be raised nor magnetized. But now I say, look above you, and behold, for even as I speak, legions of cosmic angels are descending over the force field of this place and upon the planetary body. These are the legions of goodwill, angels of cosmic love, and when they come forth, your souls will suddenly feel that great peace, that sweet release, and that joy that will never cease, coming out of the cosmic cup. In each angel hand there is a pink design of infinite beauty, woven upon a blue background of gentle forget-me-nots. For forget not the caresses of heaven upon your soul, how God watched over you in angel eyes through your babyhood, guided your steps over the bridges of life, strengthened you in the night when you were trembling with fear, sought then to hold your hand within his heart and make it clear of all dark consciousness and hatred's delusions. Oh, think ye then of how throughout your life God has molded you, and consider if this is the time to repudiate him. To repudiate him is a chastisement beyond all chastisements. And so, as the summoning of the hosts of light is given by our command, we watch as from the zenith comes forth that starry spiral of hope that are the angels of goodwill. the angels of God's will. Watch them as they come. Perceive them as they descend. Watch them as they blend within your consciousness, a stirring from deep within your soul. As of old, it is the will of God, the sacred flame, dropping the tallow of its abundance upon your life and overflowing the cup of your consciousness with new hope. The world is a world of hope. Your soul is a world in which God spoke of old and will speak again. Open then your hands and your hearts to him and say, O refreshing Father of love, I would be bathed in thy radiance. I would receive thy transcendence. I would be thyself in action in the world. I would extend my hands to do thy will. My heart, my head and my hand, my feet and my whole body, wash thou as Christ did wash Peter of old. For behold, when he washed his feet, know ye not that he washed him indeed in heart and mind and all of his being? And so, as he had asked, did he receive. And Peter, for whom the cock crew, did also understand the staunchness of the rock. Cephas, the Christic rock, revealed. And how confusing the world is concerning this issue. Long ago, when I stood in the marts of Catholicism as Thomas More, staunch in my defense of truth, I was well aware of this moot truth which so many do not perceive, or the writings of old that say, and thou art Peter, and upon this rock, Christ, will I build my church, did not understand that he spake of the Christic rock as that which should be staunch and stand forth forever, and the gates of hell should not prevail against it. But mankind, in their wresting of the Scriptures to their own destruction, in the blindness of their heart, failed to understand that he was not identifying Peter in his human sense as the rock, but rather the Christic rock. Thou art Christ. Thou art a rock. And upon this rock of Christ will I build my church. Let mankind understand then that they be no longer blinded by this Scripture. Let them see and understand and know that there could be no other rock save Christ, and Christ to each soul. Christ to each soul is the banner we hold forth. Christ, as the basis of culture, is the strength that will staunch the flow of the wounds of the world. Christ, as the staunchest heart, the first begotten, the only begotten, the beloved of the Father, shared and broken as the morsel of the holy cosmic Eucharist, shared by every soul, embellished by none, yet embellishing all, strengthening all in the bonds of reality, extends then his banner o'er the world, and men struggle and grovel in those jealousy senses that clearly say, my God, without understanding the meaning of the word. For to say, my God, is to be my God. To simply say, this is my God, and behold, thou hast thy God, is to divide the world into a camp of sinister destructivity. But when the world awakes from its lethargic sleep of the ages and comes to understand at last that it ought to have some sense knocked into its silly head, then I believe mankind will perceive with God's speed and delight that there is hope set forth as a torch in the night, in fact, by thy God. For all will have the same God, and there will not be divers gods, but only one God. And in that universal monotheism, the sacred monolith of perfection will appear in all as a flame and not a stony flame. Mankind, I say unfortunately, have actually permitted the element of pure stone to pass thaumaturgically by their darkness into the heart of the flame. And the flame has actually kindled in them and embraced and structured darkness in them because of the density of their own misqualification. Awake, thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. Aphorism, delightful invocation, holy words. These are not the stupidity of blind men. These are the fragrances of God. Hold them in your hand. Hold them in your heart. Hold them in your mind. Realize when you receive them what they are. They are freeing, and they blow forth the breath of God. Parusha. And the love ray descends with the will of God. And the blending of wisdom, and the blending of power, and the blending of the heart of the Son are that consummate reality that summons in every one purity, light, and hope, and perfection, blazing perfection. Is it too strong for you? Do you mock perfection? Do you say to yourself, I cannot possibly be clothed with that? In the name of God, were you created a separate individual? Yes, individually speaking. But all of you were made from the same matrix, the Christ matrix. And in you there is that stern mandate of God perfection that will, if you will call upon it, rebuke the heart of a cold and stony world and say to it, you need to seek a heart of flesh that is pliable and sweet and flexible and complete with all the graces of God. And how beautiful then his seed will go out into the world, and watch that seed as like the stars in the sand. It covers the heart of the world with all the substance of universal perfection. And then this blindness of which we spoke is gone. Man stands straight. He realizes at last that he need not be a spiritual cripple. I am tired. The cosmic hierarchy is tired. And God is tired of mankind's accepting the mantle of a cripple. Sit up within your seats. Sit up straight. Stand straight if you will stand. But whatever you do, command your life and your atoms free. Command your life and your atoms free. And understand that they belong to God perfection. You do not need to allow your life to be choked by the weeds of imperfection and darkness. You do not need to submit to all the thoughts that come into your mind, those carnal thoughts and those vicious thoughts that are not your own, have no part of you. Instead, you ought to summon, and summon boldly, the perfection that you are. Do it daily. Do it hourly if you will. Do it as you will. But in any case, do it. For unless it happens within you, there will be those long and sonorous delays which mankind do not understand. And lo and behold, you will hear men saying, so many years have I struggled to know and to understand. So many years have I sought God, and I have not actually found a great deal of God. I am puzzled. I still seek. What is wrong with me? Or is something wrong with God? Well, beloved hearts of light, these, of course, are answers that you know if you will accept them. They are the answers of pure and logical reasoning. You know very well that God, that is, that lives, that has created the design of the heart of a world, that has opened up even the power of a sun to energize a solar system. Won't you please be seated? For you see, if half stand and half sit, this is exactly what is going on in the world. And why did you do it? Because you did not understand the oneness of the one mind. Therefore, you should have either all sat or all stood. But I wanted to see just what kind of an experiment would happen. to show you how very silly people are, because they do not wake up to reality even when it is before them. Is this darkness? Am I speaking of darkness, or am I speaking of a kindling light? If I am speaking of a kindling light, lo, I am that light. And if I am that light, and you claim that light too, have I lost something? Nay, I have gained something. And if by the summoning of that something that is reality, out of the long caves of darkness into the beauteous emerging realm of fragrant perfection, where the golden sun of illumination shines, and the hope of a new age that is not blind, but is an age that perceives, is seen, then I tell you, the light beams and the beams that flash forth from your heart, as from the heart of God, will create a universal merging. And out of that universal merging, the universal will be seen. And when it is seen, it will catch the gleam from the mind of God that will burnish the heart of the world until it shines also. And behold, a city that is set upon a hill cannot be hid, for man will see the heart of it. And in that scene, that beautiful Kudoy will understand a glimpse of all that God has intended to create and bless mankind with. Oh, hearts of light, how can you stop from allowing yourself to literally tremble with joy as I speak to you? For I am talking to you of that which overcomes the darkness. Many, many times I have come to various individuals, I have come to groups, I have spoken, I have even exorcised those forces that were of the dark, standing beside many an individual upon the stage of life. But men have not seen me, for if they had seen me, they would probably have considered me also a demon. What a travesty then upon the senses it is that mankind can create out of darkness light and out of light darkness. It does not hold reason, for the well of God is deep, and when men go into that deep well with the bucket of their attention, it will overflow as the water of eternal life and gush forth hope and joy to their hearts. I want you to understand then that through the beautiful air, the beautiful cosmic air, there is descending now a matrices of Christ awareness. And as it comes forth out of the mind of God and through the ascended master realm, it will spin a radiance of joy in the air which you can borrow, for I loan it to you freely. Not only today, but tomorrow, and always, as long as the karmic board permits, and no longer. Will you then wonder one day why you failed? Or will you one day wonder why you succeeded? I think it would be a bit easier to wonder why you succeeded, because then, you see, you would have hope of knowing the answer. Whereas in failure, there is only blindness and wonder. This is why the Christ long ago said, "Behold, ye despisers, and wonder and perish. I work a work in your day which you shall see and yet not perceive." Do you understand? It is not necessary for me to quote in all the languages of the world some prestigious sense of divine consciousness that was released to mankind long ago. For today the same word stands. The same word stands because the inner essence and sense of that word is the fragrance of your life. Learn to command life then, and be no longer sick and afflicted and afraid. Do not scurry underneath the nearby boards or rocks. You are not creatures of the rocks or the boards. You are creatures that upon the stage of life may move forward into beauty and perfection born anew. Every day that you kindle those drops of life, you will know that you are the few called forth from the many, and that to you belongs the song of victory. I thank you. I thank you, and I thank you with gratitude in my heart that you have heard my words, for they are meant to be that form of of sweet content, that is a lullaby to the soul even when it seems to be a harsh chastisement. Like a hair shirt that I wore long ago as Sir Thomas More, it serves to remind those who will listen to the sweetness of God's holy hopes for all. Peace be upon you.